Hi, thank you for watching Digging to China. I'm Dong Shang. If you have not done so already, you can pause and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much in advance. People in Beijing are bracing for lockdown as the number of COVID-19 cases in the capital rises. Although the case number is much lower, only a fraction of those in Shanghai, but Beijing is especially paranoid about the spread of the coronavirus. It is due to its politically important location and to the leadership's own fears. After witnessing the lockdown experience of hungry Shanghai residents, those in Beijing have swept the supermarkets clean and ordered extra supplies while it's still possible. Both Beijing and Shanghai are undergoing new rounds of mass testing. Some residents report mandatory daily testing. My relatives in China are taking daily testing religiously because without it, you can barely move around in the city. Shanghai is in its sixth week of total lockdown. Although case numbers have now gone down for several consecutive days, and authorities are lifting some restraints for individual residential compounds. However, the decline in cases does not represent a chance at a victory against COVID-19 like the one China accomplished in April 2020 after the initial outbreak. In February and March 2020, the official number of new daily cases nationwide never passed the low thousands. This time, Shanghai alone has recorded between 15,000 and 25,000 cases a day. The 2020 data may have been understated, but the Omicron variant presents a whole different ballgame. In the near term, China's COVID-19 strategy remains the same despite the high societal economic cost and human toll. Why is that? There are several reasons behind it. One is the relative weakness of Chinese-made vaccines and the low vaccination rate among the very elderly. Another is the political sensitivity for Chinese President Xi Jinping after 2 years of trumpeting the zero-COVID strategy as a personal achievement, as well as a Chinese Communist Party success. There is another likely understated factor behind the zero-COVID persistency: the institutional weight of the organizations that handle COVID-19 restrictions throughout China. Just like after 9/11, new government agencies mushroomed in the US, there are also new groups created specifically for COVID-19 control. And in China, control COVID-19 is less and less a healthcare issue, more and more become a political issue. The old method of the whole of society efforts and volunteerism mixed with considerable state power have been largely replaced by personnel tasked from other government institutions, from healthcare officials to police. In the past, there are a few metrics used to measure the success of local officials. Now, they are reduced to a single number. A new set of responsibilities and opportunities to strengthen personal networks have emerged, so has the corruption. Ending the zero-COVID policy will have a disruptive effect on this new ecosystem. Of course, the current situation is stressful for frontline personnel, but it is the administrators who hold the power. The zero-COVID policy has also been boon to the security state, extending the range of tools and the normalization of surveillance. This comes at a huge cost in time, money, and personnel, but it has made the routine task of control much easier. And the local governments depend on such routine tasks of control. For example, one everyday task for local authorities is stopping petitioners who have traveled to Beijing or other centers to complain about them. These petitioners are distressed citizens try to seek justice by circumventing local authorities. In order to stop the petitioners, local authorities often monitor train stations or even kidnap them. The constant pandemic surveillance has made the task much easier. Increased surveillance could be kept in place after the zero-COVID policy ends, but public pushback would be stronger and the costs harder to justify. Then there is just Cronism. In Shanghai, accusations of profiteering are all over social media, but that is short-term corruption. The big money comes from opportunities such as the secret deals around the testing or the sale of medical equipment, as well as which drugs get approved for usage. Top COVID-19 czar Zhong Nanshan has promoted products associated with traditional Chinese medicine without declaring his own financial interests. Ultimately, the fate of China's zero-COVID policy is in Xi's hand. But there are many people telling him that it's still necessary and that there's a lot of money in disaster. Plus, zero COVID is tied to President Xi Jinping's political standing. In October 2020, Xi held a high-profile meeting in Beijing to declare victory over the coronavirus after keeping mainland China almost COVID-free for more than 6 months. He lauded a zero-COVID policy as an example of the Chinese Communist Party's institutional superiority over other regimes. At a meeting with the World Health Organization earlier that year, Xi bragged about personally directing China's fight against the coronavirus. Giving up the zero-COVID policy at this time would be hugely humiliating for Xi, who is seeking an unprecedented third 5-year term as president during the Communist Party's 20th National Congress in the fall. Even though angered Shanghainese are comparing Xi's inhumane public health policy to the brutal Cultural Revolution during the 1960s and the 1970s under Mao Zedong's dictatorship. It's unlikely to see China changing its high-level COVID policy, at least until Xi is re-elected. Some extreme nationalists argue China should stick to its zero-tolerance policy for at least 10 years, claiming COVID is part of a campaign of biological warfare launched against China by the West. On a more practical level, existing lockdown measures in Shanghai and the nearby cities will likely stay in place for weeks until COVID cases begin to drop. Meanwhile, outbreaks elsewhere could trigger a new round of lockdowns. China is too big a ship to change direction, and the CCP has neither the wisdom nor the guts to change it. An unfortunate fact. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. Just click the subscribe button right here. I'll see you again shortly. Until then, be well.